Hello, everyone, and welcome to our cocktail webinar series. I'm your host, Forty Stamos, and with me, my co-hosts, Ari KLEOS and
Hello,
Catherine
hello.
Copeland.
Hi,
We
everyone.
also have with us anthropologist and cookbook author, Dr. Susanna Hoffman. Susanna, thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
And the moment we've all been waiting for, we want to welcome our special guest, as well as our good friend, colleague, and Boston College alum. I had to throw that in there, Effie. The first Greek woman to launch a spirit brand and the founder of KLEOS Mastiha, Effie Panagopoulos. Effie, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us so we can learn more about Mastiha and KLEOS in particular. Welcome to the segment.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much. This is very anticipated. We definitely love to put these together, but this is very special to us for many different reasons. But thank you so much, Effie. And, let's get right to it. I mean, there's a lot of buzz going around KLEOS, whether it's through social media, whether it's through the trade, whether it's through friends and family. How did this all begin for you?
Well, since you mentioned the buzz, I want to just honor that and say we just got 94 points in the Ultimate Spirits Challenge, which is held in New York.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's huge.
Thank you. The head judge is Paul Packalt. It's known for having really, really rigorous kind of judging metrics, and KLEOS was a finalist in the herbal botanical liqueur category. I got beat out by my granddaddy Uzo by Metaxa. Pretty pissed about. I was very petty. I'm like, what? Why didn't I get the chairman's trophy? Are you kidding me?
We need to do a recount on that.
So Metaxa got 97 points, and then KLEOS got 94. So
all right, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Trophy, yeah.
Yeah, but you're like brand new. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Look, I did over 17 formulas to land on the liquid that's in the KLEOS bottle. So I worked on it very, very hard to get the liquid to a place that, would be not only what I think is the best Mastiha liquid on the market, but I really wanted to achieve the goal of having it be balanced enough that you could just drink it on the rocks, use it as a base spirit, and then also have it work optimally as an ingredient in cocktails. And that's what's so cool about tonight. I mean, a lot of the drinks that you can make with KLEOS, you wouldn't be able to make with other Mastihas. Or the drink would be too sweet. So you'd have just one and that's it. Everything with KLEOS is gonna be super sessionable. But, back to your original question, I've been in the liquor industry now for over 15 years. I started off in Boston as a, what you call a promo model. I was the Midori girl in Boston. I drove a green VW around the city with a feather boa doing, tastings and promotions in the city. And I was working daytime as a high school teacher and also for Univision, the Spanish TV network. And I really hated 9 to 5. I hated the office job thing.
Wait a minute, you speak Spanish?
I speak French and Spanish.
Wait, you said Univision.
I majored in language in college.
Nice.
So yeah, I worked for Bacardi. I worked for Remy. I was the first and only national brand ambassador for Metaxa. That was the job that brought me back to Greece after not having been there. And it was like a 10-year span had passed. And in Mykonos, 2008, everyone's doing shots of Mastiha, and that was my eureka moment. I kind of was like, why the hell don't we have this in the U.S.? This is delicious, and
good point.
Make this happen. So here we are.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Later, I launched the brand.
So we got to thank Mykonos for all this, right?
Yes.
In a sense.
Specifically, it was actually at Namos, so a really funny
moment. All right.
2017, I soft launched in Mykonos, and I'm at Namos, and it was for like this big party that Basilici Cristo does every summer called Made in Mykonos. And there was like a group of like 30 New Yorkers, and this one kid, Leo, was ordering bottles, and I'm like, hey, these guys have my stuff. Can you please order some KLEOS? So he ordered like 3 bottles of KLEOS. I have this great selfie on my Instagram that's me holding the bottle at Namos, and I'm like, this is where I discovered Mastiha, you know, whatever it was, 9 years ago, and here I am drinking my own stuff.
That's awesome.
Awesome, you know.
Wow.
Came
So
full
Effie,
circle.
why don't we how about we let our guests kind of understand what is Mastiha to begin with?
So if I can share my screen, I was gonna kind of take everybody on a little
Sure, absolutely.
journey. Give me a second. Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna prop open these videos.
Sure.
Cool.
So since a lot of us can't be in Greece, I'm gonna virtually
Take
us there. This one video I'm gonna show you guys is kind of a teaser video for the brand, and it's of KLEOS. So I'm gonna go ahead and, give me 1 second before I share my
Okay,
screen.
it's giving me time to pour some more. KLEOS might drink.
The bottle is so beautiful too.
Oh yeah.
I can't get over that.
So I'm gonna share my screen. Do you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Whoa.
So here we go. Here's your virtual 40-second trip to KLEOS.
Oh wow. Look at that.
So
That was great.
Wow.
yeah, this took me forever. I actually brought a film crew to KLEOS to shoot. This here, the opening scene, is Mavra Volja, which is my favorite beach in KLEOS. It's all black rock, but it's just stunning. It's beautiful sunsets and sunrises. This area here is Annavita. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And then we descend into the Mastiha. So the Mastiha are 24 villages in the southern part of the island of KLEOS where Mastiha trees grow, or it's called the skinos tree. Mastiha is a resin that comes from this particular tree that grows only in these 24 villages, that is excreted from the tree, and it was the world's first chewing gum.
Yeah.
And it's also used for a ton of medicinal purposes. Mastiha kills H. pylori, which is the bacteria that causes peptic ulcers, gastric cancer, and acid reflux.
Oh wow.
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 The healing properties for the stomach are actually retained in liquor form. So I always say Mastiha is kind of the ultimate aperitif and digestif because it helps remove all the gas from the stomach. And really aids in digestion. It's a natural remedy for Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, and is also used for oral hygiene. So through the Mastiha shop, you can buy toothpaste, you can buy mouthwash, you can chew on the raw resin, which is something I do very frequently because it's not like, you know, American chewing gum that bloats you. A lot of sugar chewing gums bloat you. So Mastiha is kind of like a cure-all, do-all. You know, it's got many, many different uses. It's also used in skincare. Chanel started putting Mastiha in their blue serum cream. And it's also used as an ingredient in surgical thread since the body absorbs it and it helps with skin regeneration and wound healing. But back to this video, this village here is Mesta. Mesta is the oldest, most well-preserved medieval village in all of the European Union. And it's a walled city. And this was built by Genovese Italians in the 1100s. So it was actually Genovese Italians. Yeah, it was actually Genovese Italians that built the 24 village settlement that's known as the Mastihojoria. So from Mesta, we go to my next favorite Mastihojori, which is called Piryi. And the entire motif of Piryi is this graphic design that is called Xisti. So with Xisti, what they did was actually scratch on these walls, and they reveal the white underneath. So the buildings are actually that charcoal color, and then when they scratched them, it was white. So yeah, so all of Piryi has this design. It is the largest Mastiha producing village and has the most Mastiha trees per capita of any of the Mastihojoria. This is a Mastiha village. I believe we were in Calamoti. I just love this scene with the trees. It's so beautiful. If you ever have the opportunity to actually go to KLEOS, I have a very close friend, Vasily Balas, that has an agro-tourism company. And so he'll bring people down to the fields, and you can do the whole experience of actually.
So we can drop your name.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They all know me. They all know me.
At this point, absolutely.
So you can have this experience of actually going and doing what's called kedima, which is, the scraping of the tree to collect the resin. And then I did this little weird graphic design thing.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Actually, real quick.
Yeah.
So just like in the wine world, there's harvest. Is it the same for collecting the sap from the trees at like a specific time of the year?
Yes. And that's exactly what we're going to jump into now. So
okay,
on my website, there's a Mastiha cultivation section. So that's kind of what I'm going to review. There's about 6 videos on the site. I'm not going to go through all of them. Just going to give you like the brief overview. So the season for the harvest is actually July 15th through the end of September. So it's a very short season. Obviously, it's done in the summertime. Although the cultivation of the trees is a year-long thing. It's just that the actual harvest of the trees for the resin is only done in the summertime. So the first harvest, they call riñasma. This is like the wake-up call for the tree, and this is done, like I said, July 15th. The action of actually making those incisions is called kedima. So I'm going to play this video for you guys now.
Like sewing.
Then we start.
Kedima means embroidery, doesn't it?
Yes.
Actually,
embroidery.
Yeah.
Incisions on the bark of the tree. Literally, kedima means embroidery.
Yeah.
That people.
See?
You need to be precise to get a good yield from the tree, but also do it in a way that you don't damage the tree. Kedima starts from the base of the trunk. The first time we do it, we call it riñasma, and we score just a couple of incisions on the trunk, very low on the base. And this is like a wake-up call for the tree. A few days later, we go again to the same tree, and we do from 5 to 20 incisions, depending on the size and the age of each tree. And we go like this, once per week or twice per week, and do this number of incisions.
So you can see this is kind of back-breaking labor. The first time I went to, participate in the harvest, I was all excited. And then about an hour in, I'm like, oh, wow, this sucks. Like you're literally hunched over. You're pretty much on your knees for the most part. The Mastiha trees are kind of similar to olive trees in the sense that they're short and then they grow out really wide. So they're kind of like these big shrubs. But the next video, I'm going to show you kind of what the Mastiha looks like after they've done the kedima.
Mid of August, we do the first collection that we call pitologima. Pita is the name we use for the big chunks of mastic that normally form around the base of the trunk, because all the incisions on the trunk drip on the same spots, and little droplets of mastic stick to each other and they form bigger and bigger chunks. So at early morning, at the crack of dawn, you have to go to the field and collect all these pita one by one by hand, carefully placing them in a wooden box where you have already spread some powder, white powder, trying not to pile them. So you place them side by side to make sure that they don't stick to each other.
So, yeah, this is all done by hand.
August.
There's nothing automated about the process. And the cultivation of Mastiha has actually been, you know, recognized by UNESCO. It's on its list of intangible cultural world heritage, since the cultivation and harvest has been done the exact same way for over 3,000 years. I mean, honestly, the most sophisticated piece that they have is like a electric leaf blower, you know. Other than that, everything is done by hand. So the last
What was that white powder, Effie? I don't know if I mentioned it. Sorry. What was the powder that they were putting it in?
The white powder is sodium bicarbonate. They lay it on the ground. That's the first step of the process.
Okay.
They clean the table around the tree, and then they apply that powder, so it's so that the Mastiha doesn't stick to the dirt and the leaves.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, doesn't come from the tree. So the last step is called pastrema. This is the cleaning of the Mastiha, and this is also done by hand by the women in the villages.
Wow.
This is called pastrema. Pastrema traditionally is performed in the villages. When the sun is still up, people will do it outside of their houses.
Opa.
The houses.
There it goes.
It's a very long process and quite boring. So this way, people may have the opportunity to chat with a neighbor or somebody that passes by, so on. Later in the night, people may get together to do it, like a social activity, let's say, whether you may have a group of people in one table, each cleaning his or her mastic, or this group of people rotating on different houses, cleaning each time somebody else's mastic. This type of work is called danica. It's like a time-sharing concept.
Cool, right?
That's super
interesting.
cool.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Who would ever think?
Yeah. So, sorry, let me share my my video again. So.
There you are.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? There's one more video I could show you that I think we have a lot of Greeks here, so I think people would appreciate this video. Let me go back. But you know what I was going to say regarding the cultivation. You know, this is the cleaning of the Mastiha happens in October, so it's a pretty decent amount of time. I'd have to say, the social, cultural, and economic fabric of the island of Chios, other than shipping, because it's a big shipping island as well, and then other than like some citrus, because there's citrus that comes out of Cabos, is all around Mastiha. And Mastiha was very much promoted in medieval times through religion. And that's the next video that I'm going to show you. Give me 1 second. So yeah, there's kind of like the folklore reasons why they say that Mastiha grows only in the southern part of Chios, and then there's the scientific reasons. I kind of am actually more convinced of the folklore reasons than I am of the science. You know, they've tried to plant the trees on the northern part of the island, and the trees grow, but they don't produce the same aromatic sap. There have been French explorers, Turks particularly, Russians, people that have tried to come to the island, Japanese even, that have tried to come to the island, take the trees, bring them back to their homelands and grow them, and it does not produce the same sap that has all of these healing properties and the specific aroma and flavor as well. It's honestly fascinating. And the folklore story is around the story of Saint Isidore. So I met this wonderful woman in Mesta. Her name's Evgenia Almirudi. She actually has some family in New York, and she owns the main restaurant in the square called Taverna o Meseona. So if you ever get to go to Mesta, you can definitely meet Evgenia and tell her that you know me.
Hook us up with a reservation.
But but she tells the story really
Η
nicely.
Νότια Χίος είναι ευλογημένη.
Let me start it right from the beginning.
Oh, I love
Η
this.
Νότια Χίος είναι ευλογημένη. Είναι ευλογημένη από τον Άγιο Σίδερο. Αυτός ο άνθρωπος, ο Άγιος Σίδερος, ήταν χριστιανός. Και επειδή δεν άλλαζε την πίστη του, τον εδέσανε πάνω σε ένα άλογο και πάρε δρόμο το μουλάρι, ήτρεχε. Αφού πια ο άνθρωπος είχε σπαραλιάσει με τα αίματα και με τα χτυπήματα και ξέρω εγώ, ίσπασε το σινί το λόγο και αυτός ο καμένος εσούρτηκε και πήγε γη κάτσε κάτω από ένα δέντρο. Το δέντρο αυτό ήταν ο σκήνος. Τον εσυπώνεσε το δέντρο και γύρισε ο Άγιος Σίδωρος και του λέει εύχομαι το δάκρυ σου, γιατί έκλαιγε το δέντρο και τους λέει ότι εύχομαι το δάκρυ σου να γίνει φάρμακο για όλο τον κόσμο. Και αυτό είναι που είναι ευλογημένη η Νότια Χίο από τον Άγιο Σίδερο. Και από το μαστίχι είναι ευλογημένο από τον Άγιο. Έτσι είναι η παράδοση τώρα. Μπορεί να είναι και αλήθεια.
I love it.
Love it.
I love her. She's like telling this story about the saint and she's all passionate and she's like, hey, you never know. Could even be true.
She keeps it real.
I'm a full believer.
Έτσι είναι.
I'm a total believer right now because
I know.
it's an awesome story.
And I love her vocabulary. Sbaragliasi.
Oh, that Kyoto accent. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, well, I'm apt to believe it if you don't get the same aromatics that you were saying when you transport the trees. That's crazy.
Well, look, Mastiha is a PDO. It's a protected designation of origin ingredient. It's just like blue Weber agave that only grows in the Jalisco region of Mexico. This is our thing in Greece. This is the Greek superfood. It exists nowhere else in the world. And that's why, frankly, it's so special. And it was a big motivation for me to create this brand. I really felt that we as a culture were not doing right by this category, you know, because there's so much cheap mastiha in Greece. It's the type of thing that you get free as a shot after your meal when you're on the islands. And I'm like, what the hell? This is like so expensive. And so there's artificial mastiha that runs rampant on the market. And I thought to myself, you know, what a horror show. Like this product needs a luxury brand and it has to be properly marketed. And we need to educate consumers outside of Greece because I know they will, you know, embrace it because they always do. Americans love everything foreign. I mean, we've made tequila the biggest thing on the planet now, you know. Tequila brand got bought for $1 billion 2 years ago, you know. So, and that was 20 years ago. Tequila was the weird, you know, nasty thing you drank, or maybe it was Jose Cuervo.
Just shots.
Right?
Yeah.
So I like to think that I'm kind of starting the revolution for Mastiha. And because I worked on Metaxa, you know, Metaxa was a little bit of a tough sell. Ouzo is a tough sell. Mastiha is delicious. You know, 9 out of 10 people love the taste of Mastiha. So
It's inviting.
I really view it as the spirit that can put Greece back on the map.
Effie, when you sell for $1 billion, you know, do not forget us, please. Thank you.
I'll be lucky if I get close. I'm teetering on, the company's teetering right now. So yeah, I have my big dreams, but you know, we have to live in reality.
No, I have high hopes. I have high hopes.
Real quickly, Effie, as you know, aside from it actually becoming a base for a product that, you know, that's converted to a spirit, it's also used in cooking. And if we can just get a couple of points from Dr. Susanna Hoffman, who actually has used mastiha in her cookbooks, anything you can just bring to the table as far as, you know, mastiha being, you know, medicinal and also as a base for a spirit. How about just quickly we can touch on its inclusion in our culinary world of Greek cooking?
Well, you have to realize that no one had vanilla. Vanilla comes from Mexico, and vanilla wasn't really available until at least the 1700s and later than that. So the search for something aromatic, sweetly aromatic, was pretty special on the spice trails and then the discovery of mastiha. So it's been used actually for thousands of years. Greeks don't particularly use cardamom, which has the
you know, an equally aromatic smell. They certainly use a lot of cinnamon, canela, and have for a long time. So it was always very famous, and generally in culinary history, it's used as a bread flavoring, especially Easter breads. But before vanilla, it was used far more widely, and I use it far more widely. I use it, I make a custard of golemino, which dessert, which is flavored with mastica. About 2 weeks ago, I made a rhubarb nectarine tart. I used mastica. It was fantastic.
Wow. I'm hungry.
I use it, believe it or not, I use it on fish. I either stuff bread, I stuff a bread with mastica and put it inside the fish, or I grind it over a little bit, wrap the fish in grape leaves and grill them, and it's wonderful on fish. So I use mastica. I think I was saying earlier, I have a mortar and pestle nearby. I grind the crystals into a powder, and I use it constantly, certainly for any kind of sweet dish or any kind. I don't do bread much anymore because I'm at 9,000 feet, but I do a lot of, so they don't rise, bread doesn't rise much, but I do Greek cakes, which, you know, are only about 3 or 4 inches high. I do certainly a tahini sesame cake that's flavored with mastica. It's delicious. I do one that I soak in ouzo, but I also have mastica in that one as well. And my nut cakes are mastica. I mean, I use it a lot, and I make mastica ice cream, which is really yummy. So it's got a long history, culinary history in Greece. It's true. By the way, it's a relative of pistachio nuts. So that's its kind of its species. And it was what we call gum mastic. It was the first gum. It was just something to chew as well. So that's a short version of the histories, but I use it in your tarts. I recommend it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Susanna.
Sorry, one distinction that I just wanted to make though, mastica in and of itself is not sweet at all. It's actually quite bitter. You actually have to, mastica chemically has to bond with either sugar or with salt for sweet and savory application. So when you grind it up with the mortar and pestle and turn it into a powder, it's advisable to combine it either with your sugar or combine it with your salt, depending on.
Which is the same with vanilla. If you've ever just tasted vanilla straight, it's very bitter.
Yeah.
And by the way, vanilla's gotten very rare and very expensive right now. So if you're going to spend that kind of money, why not use mastica?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Susanna. That was very insightful, and you know, now you make me want to have like a whole loaf of tureki. Right? Tureki has mastica in it, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Certainly does.
Cake, basilopita always has mastica, tureki always has mastica in it, and the ice cream with mastica is called kaimaki. And kaimaki is a typically sheep's milk yogurt base with mastica, salepi, which is a Turkish spice, and cinnamon. And it is my favorite thing to have mastica in, other than KLEOS.
No, there's another little interesting bit about its history, and that is the women of in the Turkish occupation, the women of harems were not allowed to have any money except they could buy and sell mastica, which they got from middlemen from the island of Chios. And so it was used as coin during the Ottoman Empire, but just by the women. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So there's a whole section of my website dedicated to history and fun facts. There's so many fun facts, literary references for mastica. You know, so we can close the culinary topic. Food and Wine did an interview with Grana Katz years back. I believe it was 2009. He is a 3 Michelin star award winning chef with Alinea in Chicago. He's got the Alinea cookbook. And the second question they asked him is, what's the world's most underused spice? And he said mastica. And there's 2 mastica dishes in the Alinea cookbook.
Awesome. All right, are we gonna get to doing some demos right now. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, let's do it. So all of these recipes you can find on my website. Sorry, I'm trying to get it so everyone can see everything here. So I think I mentioned, you know, for your home bar, really basic ingredients that you should have are going to be a shaker tin. I like these little Japanese shakers, these little mini shakers. That way you're only making one drink at a time. Jiggers. This one that I have here is a 2 ounce, 1 ounce jigger, and then a 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce jigger. You definitely want to use jiggers because precision is so important in terms of having balanced cocktails. I mean, if you're an experienced home bartender and you can eyeball it, by all means, I still use a jigger because especially when you're talking about acid, it's really important to have a balanced cocktail. Another thing, lemon squeezer, always fresh juice. Fresh lemon and lime juice is going to be key for any cocktail. A nice paring knife to cut your fruit, and then a good old muddler. A lot of the stuff I'm going to be muddling tonight, you could use a blender and just puree the fruit, but I don't know. I love muddling. It's a little more labor and effort into the cocktail. So the first drink I'm going to make is called the Cleopatra cocktail. It is the signature drink.
Nice.
And it was a drink created by a guy named Michael Menegos, who is the godfather of Greek cocktail culture. If there were a family tree in Greece of kind of the people responsible for resurrecting cocktail culture in Athens, Michael Menegos would probably be at the top of that tree with a guy named Thanos Brunatos close behind. So if anyone's been to Athens, as of late, there's been a major kind of revival with cocktail culture, and there are a ton of cocktail bars. If I can recommend to anyone, the Clumsies has been number 4, number 5 on the world's 50 best list for cocktail bars. Babarum, which is the one that Thanos Brunatos owns, has the largest rum selection of any bar in all of the EU. It is fabulous. A place called A for Athens, which is in Monastiraki. I can go on and on and on. There are so many fantastic cocktail bars in Athens now, but the guy who created the Cleopatra is kind of the guy that was really pushing the envelope to bring back respectable cocktail making to Athens. Because when I first started going back to Athens, which was like 2006, people were drinking stuff like Ursus, which was basically oh my God.
The Red Bull of Greece.
Yeah.
It's like a
Red Bull and vodka Greece.
Horrible. So, drinking culture in Athens has changed tremendously. And I'd say the comeback of Mastiha has come right in line with that resurrection of classic cocktails. So besides Mastiha, the spirit that I really am looking out for in Greece now is also tsipuro. I think tsipuro is a fantastic distillate coming from Greece that's kind of like our grappa, except that with Greek tsipuro, there's a lot of estate-grown grapes, so it's a much higher quality even than like Italian grappa, and it's much cheaper, tsipuro.
Yeah.
So let's begin. So with the Cleopatra cocktail, this is going to be super easy. I pre-squeezed some lemon juice. So we're going to do a 1/2 ounce of lemon juice and a couple basil leaves. This is like 4 basil leaves. And then you're going to give that a muddle. And we're going to add 2 ounces of KLEOS. So real important to note, 2 full ounces of KLEOS is only 110 calories, 4 grams of sugar. So this cocktail is 110 calories, 4 grams of sugar. So this is going to be less calories than your typical glass of red wine. It's very sessionable.
So Ari, how many cocktails can we have if it's only 110 calories?
I had about 4 already, but
I made this one yesterday, actually, Effie, in anticipation of this, so I'm excited.
Yeah, she made it yesterday, sent us a picture, and then I was like, I'm making that today for sure.
This is the drink. I mean, if you want to convince your American friends that Greece makes good spirits, this is the drink right here. It is so sessionable, so easy drinking. And then you're just
Well,
gonna open.
as Greeks, we're so convincing. We don't need to, like,
You're just gonna garnish that with a little basil leaf.
Wow, look at that.
That's it.
Cute.
That's awesome.
Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers.
Sinigamas, so good. So good.
Yamas.
And refreshing.
Organic basil is going to be best. It's going to be the most aromatic. What I find also is pretty cool is, you know, depending on where I'm getting the basil, sometimes it will make the drink nice and green too. So the color can make it very appealing. All right, so that's the Cleopatra. The next drink I'm going to do is called the Lord Byron. So Lord Byron was what you call a philhellene, so, or philhellene. These were people in, let's say, 1920s French Cafe Society and prior to that, that were really obsessed with Greece and ancient Greek culture, and it was an inspiration for a lot of their art. So people like Dali, Picasso, Lord Byron was an English poet who was pro-Greece in the, you know, strife against the Ottomans.
Yeah.
So I call this drink the Lord Byron because it's got London dry gin. So we're gonna start with 1 ounce of gin. And actually I'm messing this up. Start with the lemon juice. So we'll start with the lemon juice again, because we're gonna muddle again. So we add the alcohol last. So it's a 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. And then I'm gonna throw in 4 little thin slices of cucumber. I'm gonna give those a muddle. And I'm cheating tonight because this gin is actually from Wisconsin. It's a guy friend of mine. And it's really kind of umami. And I changed the recipe of this drink tonight just a little bit to accommodate for this gin. So I go 1 ounce of gin, 1 ounce of KLEOS. And we're gonna shake that up. And in a highball glass, filled with ice, we're gonna strain that out. And I'm gonna garnish this one with a little cucumber slice. And this was the secret ingredient that I'm adding tonight. And it's actually nori furikake.
What is that?
I've been eating a lot of poke lately, and so like I love this stuff. And what it does is add just a little hint of salt and a little bit of that umami kind of savory.
Interesting.
I love
tell
that. Oh my
Can you
gosh.
tell us what that is?
So it's KLEOS, it's lemon cucumber KLEOS gin. And then I added the nori on top, same way you would, you know, salt the rim of your margarita just to give it.
Oh, I got you.
Well, nori is seaweed. Nori is seaweed. So the nori
Seaweed, okay.
has like sesame seed, seaweed, a little bit of salt, a teeny bit sweet. So it gives you that kind of like sweet, salty thing and adds a little savory component. It's so awesome. Seriously.
I've never thought of doing that as a garnish. I love nori in sushi, so that's amazing.
So, you know.
That's the fountain of youth right there, I think.
Yeah. So you'll see with all these drinks, it's all about fresh ingredients, herbs, fruits, and then I always like to add some kind of savory note. And that's what's really cool about KLEOS. Again, like if you were to use a different Mastiha, which is super sweet, it wouldn't really tolerate, you know, kind of the savory additions that I add. KLEOS is going to be super versatile because from a production standpoint, I do a double distillation. I use 2 forms of Mastiha. So I use the raw resin and I use Mastiha essential oil. Double distill it. It's a neutral grain spirit base versus everybody else uses sugar beet. And it's under 30% sugar. So most of the competition you're looking at is over 40%, going up as high as 65% plus sugar. Another thing that's very important with Mastiha, I don't know if you guys can see or if you have bottles at home, is to look out for the stamp from the KLEOS Mastiha Growers Association.
Yeah.
So any product with authentic KLEOS Mastiha has to have the stamp from the Growers Association. That's the only way you can verify if they're using real KLEOS Mastiha. So we're gonna intensify now with flavors. The next one we've got up, which I love, and you guys are gonna love, this was the screwball. I didn't put this in the list.
It's called a screwball?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say.
She named it after you, Fati.
It's the can't elope. Can't elope. So the magic ingredient, who's gonna guess?
It's like eloping, like Ari wants to elope with me.
Cantaloupe. That's a magic ingredient.
Cantaloupe.
You can't elope.
So we're doing again a 1/2 ounce of lemon. This time you're gonna take some pieces of cantaloupe. This is gonna be a little harder to muddle. Opa.
Let you work out.
Yes. I don't know about you guys, but cantaloupe in the summertime, my absolute fave.
Haven't had many cocktails with it though. I'm curious.
So good with Mastiha. And here's my vodka. So we're gonna go with some boring old vodka here. 1 ounce vodka. 1 ounce KLEOS. So KLEOS, vodka, cantaloupe, lemon juice.
Oh, it sounds good.
Ooh.
And then like I do with everything, it's gonna have a little savory component. You know, people neglect ice. Ice is definitely a key ingredient in cocktails. I mean, I'm here at WeWork, so I'm using generic ice. But if you can at home, buy ice molds that you can get at Williams-Sonoma, so you can make nice, you know, kind of beautiful, larger square cubes of ice. Or crushed ice. This cocktail in particular is really nice over crushed ice. Ice not only kind of adds dilution and keeps your drinks cold, but most preferable is going to be ice with slower dilution. And then the garnish here is going to be tarragon.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this one, so good. Don't mind
All
me.
right, hook it up.
That's my favorite herb. It's not too Greek, but I have a huge bush of it, French tarragon.
The
Oh,
can't
That's
elope.
awesome.
Can't elope. So that was the screwball that I threw in. Last
I
drink.
like that.
Last drink, and you guys are gonna love this one because it's very American, is essentially a margarita. So we're gonna do lime juice now. Where did I put my lime juice into? Here we go. So
Right there.
squeeze some lime juice. So once again, we're gonna go 1/2 ounce on the lime juice. So if you guys are kind of picking up, I'm doing very simple builds on everything, right? It's a 1/2 ounce of citrus, and it's typically gonna be 1 ounce of KLEOS along with 1 ounce of another spirit. But I just put in a large watermelon cube. So it's watermelon, lime. Anyone want to take a stab at what spirit's gonna go in here other than KLEOS?
Ooh.
Tequila?
Good question. Good question.
Hey, the doctor
Bravo,
got
Susanna.
it.
We are doing a watermelon margarita with KLEOS. So it's gonna go 1 ounce KLEOS, 1 ounce Don Julio. By the way, the distiller of Don Julio has tasted and loves KLEOS.
That's awesome.
Word. Awesome.
That was a great moment in New York. So again, we're going 1-1, KLEOS and tequila. And then, like I said, I love adding a savory component, which here we go. We're gonna do, this is rainbow peppercorns. I typically like using pink peppercorn in this, but you're gonna sprinkle in some peppercorn.
Wow. For some heat?
Yeah, and just to kind of like break it up a little bit.
Spice and watermelon is such a good combo, actually.
Yeah.
Underrated, I would say.
I would think feta and watermelon is better.
Well, that's pretty well known. Foti, thank
I don't know. That's what just came to my mind.
You're not gonna put that in a cocktail, though.
you.
You don't. How do you know?
Well, that's true, actually. That's very true.
Imagine garnishing a cocktail with feta and watermelon.
Nope.
I'm sure it's been done.
Oh, that's a nice color.
Yeah, it's a beautiful color. You can see the little peppercorns throughout. And then the garnish for this is going to be thyme.
Wow.
Oh,
And I call this drink Carpuzzi time.
I like it. Are all these recipes on your website?
Yes, they're all on the website. For the Americans here, Carpuzzi is the Greek word for watermelon. So Carpuzzi time.
cheers.
This is so good. Honestly, tequila and mezcal are amazing, amazing with KLEOS. Really good.
Oh, that's
Good to know. Good to know.
So here's your lineup. Can we see the drinks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Cleopatra.
Cleopatra.
The Lord Byron.
Lord Byron.
Got the Can't Elope, which typically has a little more orange color. That's my fault. And
Okay.
then Carpuzzi time. So you can see also there's a theme here. These are all definitely summertime, very refreshing, little bit of fruit. And we're looking at like superfoods and herbs, and everything's low-cal and fresh. And
So
that's what I love.
we got to do, Effie, is that then we need to come back around during the winter. We need to do a winter session with KLEOS.
Yes.
If this is all summertime, we got to do this again with winter.
Yeah.
We have all the boozy cocktails for wintertime.
Perfect,
awesome.
perfect. Wow, this is. I mean, I'm jealous that I don't have those drinks in front of me.
I have the
They're
first one, and
It
it was amazing.
Looks like there's a lot of questions in the chat.
Yeah. So why don't we open up this session now to all of our guests who have been joining us from the get-go, which we want to thank, and allow this opportunity to ask Effie and our co-host any questions in regards to KLEOS, Effie, Mastiha, recipes, anything that actually interests our guests.
While we give people a chance to ask their questions, Foti, do you or any of our panel here, do you guys have any questions to start off with? I want to know if we had access to these recipes, and they're on your website. And the website is, Effie?
It's drinkkleos.com.
Okay.
Mm.
And that's KLEOS.
Yep, drink and then KLEOS.
And we'll link it as well everywhere we post this webinar. Foti and anybody from our panel, if you guys want to start, let me know, and I'll wait for any of the questions to
In the chat, Rose Vitali has a question, and this is a woman from San Diego I just connected with on LinkedIn.
Oh, cool. Rose, if you're out there, ask away.
Can we unmute people or no?
We generally do the questions through the chat, because having too many people unmuted gets a little
Noisy.
Greek.
crazy.
It gets too Greek. Everyone talks over each other. But no, Ari's gonna be the moderator, so Ari will take the questions, and then Effie he'll tell you who's asking the questions, and then Ari will relay it back. So Ari, do you have Rose's question? I think I did see something from Rose.
No, I'm waiting for her to come in.
Oh, okay, cool.
Effie, while we're waiting, you said, did you get your start in Boston? Is that where you had one of your first jobs in the industry, or where did you grow up? Just curious.
Boston, born and raised. I grew up in Rosendale and West Roxbury, and me and Foti went to the same church growing up.
Ah, okay. I actually know the church you're talking about. You showed me that before. Awesome.
Church and school, right? We went to school together, so we come from the same mold from the streets.
Don't insult Effie in that way, please.
The only reason why Ari responds is because he's a Somerville Greek, and as Greeks we're very territorial. So being from Rossi, he's being from Somerville. There's a little bit of rivalry, right?
I'm not territorial at all. what I wanted to ask, oh, we have one here. Let me, have you played with liquid smoke for a recipe? That might make an amazing cocktail.
I personally have not, but other bartenders have. There's particularly one named Carlos Splendorini from San Francisco that this is kind of like one of his shticks. He used to be the mixologist for Michael Mina, who is, again, another award-winning chef who's got multiple restaurants, Vegas, San Francisco. So no, but you're definitely right along those lines. I love KLEOS with mezcal. I love KLEOS with Japanese whiskey, with peaty whiskey. So it definitely tolerates really intense flavors.
Oh, interesting.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I have a personal question while we're waiting. We spoke about that whole folklore about Mastiha growing. Was there a scientific, actual proven reason, or is that still something that's kind of unknown?
So there's three reasons scientifically that they say Mastiha only grows in KLEOS. Number one is going to be the terroir. So a lot of islands in the Aegean kind of sprouted a volcanic eruption. So there's definitely, mineral rich soil. The islands themselves are positioned so that they're shielded by a mountain range. And so they're shielded from wind. It barely ever rains. So terroir is going to be the number one reason. Number two is going to be eugenics. So eugenics is a Greek word. EU at the beginning of a Greek word means good or well, and genics means genetics. So eugenics means good genetics. The ancient Heians were always picking the trees that gave them the most resin to repropagate. So they kind of created like a super species of the tree over time. And the way you plant the Mastiha tree is actually by cutting off the branch. There are no seeds. So you just cut off a branch and then you stick that in the ground, and that's how you plant a new tree. It takes about 5 years for a tree to mature enough that you can actually harvest it for resin. But at 20 years old is the kind of optimal age for a Mastiha tree, and they live over 100.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's really
and then
cool.
the third reason is also going to be the systematic cultivation of Mastiha over time by the ancient Heians. So this is something that obviously takes a degree of know-how. The first video that you saw when they're doing Variñasma and they're kind of going really fast. Well, you can do that on the first Kendima, on the second Kendima, third Kendima in the same season. You can't prick the tree where you've made the first incision. You are essentially wounding the tree. So you cannot scrape it again on the same spot because the tree is not going to give you its resin. The resin is the tree's healing mechanism. And so there's definitely an art to the Mastiha cultivation, and this is something that's been passed down from generation to generation, family to family. It's only about 3,000 families that are part of the KLEOS Mastiha Growers Association that actually own these trees, that harvest them to cultivate the sap. So those are the scientific reasons. They have just started for the first time because there's been fires on the island by arsonists a few times the past 10 years that wiped out a decent population of the trees. So the Growers Association, they have a research and development department that does all of the medical studies on Mastiha. They've also just started growing some trees in a greenhouse, but they do not, they don't make a habit of it. They are growing trees in a greenhouse just to mature them to about 5 years old, where they can give farmers back trees that they have lost. Otherwise, they do not change a thing about the cultivation. There's no fertilizer. It's all organic, fair trade, sustainable, et cetera, et cetera.
Very cool. All right.
Process.
Okay.
So Ari, we have
We got a couple questions.
Yeah, we have a few.
We have a special guest that we want to acknowledge that's actually joining us. Our close friend, Eric Anderson, who's the ambassador of Hendricks Gin, is with us this evening. He was actually with us last week in one of our webinars, and he's here with us, and he's also wants to ask Effie a question.
Yeah. He said, Effie, this is so awesome and informative. If you would pick your top classic cocktails where you would sub gin for Mastiha.
So To be honest, I wouldn't necessarily sub gin for Mastiha because the two are a beautiful complement. Gin is kind of the number one spirit base that bartenders use to mix with Mastiha. Like, I want to say a year ago, a food and wine writer hit me up to do a piece on Mastiha and Mastiha cocktails. And so she asked me, could I connect her with bartenders, this and that? And I was like, listen, I'll do it for you. I'll get a bunch of recipes from around the country. And so I was hitting up bartenders in LA, in Texas, in Miami, in New York, in Boston, Chicago. It was like everybody gave me gin recipes. And I'm like, people, somebody give me something else. So Mastiha is a great complement to gin. So I wouldn't necessarily say I'd sub it out. Although many people, when they blind taste KLEOS, think it's like a sweeter gin. Many times they think it's gin. So that drink with the cucumber is a riff on a classic, which is the South Side. Love that drink. A classic gin martini, I actually sub Mastiha for the vermouth. So I go 2 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of KLEOS, and then do a little bit like a dropper of Greek olive oil.
Ooh.
Absolute fire.
What?
Fire. Like,
I'm gonna ask if you could at all use it like the vermouth in, say, a Manhattan. Have you tried it with bourbon?
yes. So you can do any sort of old-fashioned and Manhattan variations with KLEOS. Pick your brown spirit and pick your
wild
KLEOS, and then
I'd like that.
Yeah.
So there's virtually so many of the recipes that I did on the site are derivative of classics, and that's how we all start,
And Eric replied to you with, that's super cool, more like a split bass idea then.
Yes. So I'm actually going to be doing a really funny spoof soon on 50/50s. So KLEOS is kind of the ultimate for going 50/50. So you can go 50/50 with gin, with vodka, with tequila, with mezcal, with cachaça, you name it, Mastiha goes with it. And Hendrix is really good with Mastiha. I actually just got a guy from Miami that messaged me on the Instagram and was like, Hendrix and KLEOS and tonic, game changer. It was literally the message that he sent. So KLEOS has a lot of cucumber.
I'm doing that tomorrow.
KLEOS has a lot of cucumber notes, so it works really, really well with Hendrix.
Wow.
I see another question about the distilling process from start to finish.
How long is the distilling process from start to finish? And does it need to be aged or is it better aged?
So the distilling process from start to finish, I'm going to talk about the production process. So the production process from start to finish is it can go anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. So we start off with a maceration of Mastiha resin in a 90 ABV neutral grain spirit base. Then I take that base, and that's about a week. Then we take that base and we run it through the still one time with the raw resin and cut it down. That's a 9-hour process. Then we run it through the still a second time, another 9 hours with the Mastiha essential oil. Every time there is a resting period for that distillate in what they call inox tanks. There's an additional kind of resting period where the whole liquid, just marries. We blend it with water and sugar, filter it, call it a day. But the whole thing takes about 6 to 8 weeks. I don't give up all the goods because no one makes Mastiha the way we do.
Gotcha.
Right.
Good point.
And the question is, does it need to be aged or is it better aged? So, somebody approached me about like, oh, why don't you age Mastiha? And I'm kind of like, aging white spirits, rum, okay, great. Brandy, okay, great. Like, I just find it to be gimmicky because the reality is Mastiha it's a vodka to start, okay? It's a vodka to start, and then I add Mastiha to the still, right? It's a neutral grain spirit base. So there are a lot of volatiles in Mastiha, but to me, aging it and putting it in like wood would just absolutely kill everything that's in the Mastiha.
Yeah, I can't see that.
Personally, again, this is a personal bias of mine. I prefer young spirits. Like, I like tasting the raw ingredients. So even with rum, I like tasting that molasses or that sugar cane. And I like the younger spirit more than the aged spirit, because once you age, a lot of times all you taste is the wood. And that happens with a lot of wine. You know, California wine is like buttery and oaky. All you taste is the wood, you know? So I honestly think it would be a disservice to the liquid and what we do to age it. But there is someone, I don't know who, someone just told me there is somebody in Greece that's aging Mastiha. And good luck to them. They can own that. The only thing that I would potentially do is bring out a dry Mastiha, which it tested really poorly in focus groups, which is why I did not start off with a dry Mastiha. I like bone dry Mastiha. A lot of cocktail nerdy bartenders like bone dry Mastiha. It's a lot more like gin, but consumers don't really warm up to it as much. If I were to do a secondary SKU, it would probably be that.
Interesting.
Cool.
Wow. All right. If there's any other questions, we'll take them. If not, we're, I guess, coming to the end.
Awesome.
Oh, look at that. Perfect. We're not even.
Well, I want to make sure we include before we wrap up as well. Like for those of you that have been with us, we want to thank them as well for joining us with this special moment with Effie. And that for those of you that are anticipating to try KLEOS, we do have it on our platforms to order, right? You can either order it directly from Effie's website, which is drinkkleos.com, or you can also find it on our platforms, which is either greekwinclub.co or urbanwineclub.co. We do local deliveries in Massachusetts, but for those of you that live outside of the state, we do shipping through FedEx. So please take the opportunity to order through us as well. I'm sure there are plenty of retailers in different markets that have it on the shelf as well, right, Effie?
So, well, Forti delivers to 12 states.
Yes.
Primary ones are going to be California. Where else are you delivering?
Massachusetts, DC, Louisiana, New Hampshire, Oregon. There's a bunch of others as well, but they're listed on the site.
They're all listed on the site. In North Carolina now you can special order KLEOS. You can special order KLEOS in Pennsylvania through your state liquor store. Thanks, Frederick. Thanks for joining. We've got like a really amazing Boston bartender that's joined us tonight.
He's going to be with us on September 3rd, I believe, right?
Yes.
And then I am distributed in New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Canada should be coming on board very, very soon. Australia is coming on board very soon. And then officially we'll be selling in Greece again very soon. And then looking to open up many new states in 2021, including Chicago, California, Florida officially. So yeah. But also available in the UK, in London.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
I just want to remind you, Effie, again, 3 comma deal. Do not forget us.
Well, I wanted to also Ari thank our co-host. I wanted to thank Catherine. I want to thank Dr. Susanna for taking the time in her busy schedule to be with us. It's always a pleasure to have you. As always, we try to bring as many interesting and fun guests to our platform to educate, inform, and sometimes entertain. Hopefully, we've inspired you to drink Mastiha in this segment. And Effie, we want to commend you on your efforts and what you're doing. For me, it's inspiring to see someone like yourself really bring some of Greece's finest to the global platform.
I think the whole brand, the whole story, your personal story, everything about this is just, even though I know you, if I didn't know you, if I just hear the story, it's like amazing. I know it's going to go far. I know you're going to do really well. I mean, it's a given. It's 100%.
Appreciate that. One group I want to acknowledge,
yes.
You know, I have to say, you know, it's been really tough times with COVID, not to, sugarcoat anything. And really the business has been sustained by Greek Americans. I'm going to like get emotional right now.
Good.
You know, my whole thing with KLEOS was that I wanted to create a product that would transcend Greece and be bigger than that and really have the opportunity to be a general market product. And it's been really tough times. And obviously my bar and restaurant sales have, you know, completely suffered. And I'm in all these cool, nerdy cocktail bars, like not in Greek places, you know, everyone, people are like, oh, are you in like, you know, Taverna, whatever? And I'm like, no, I'm not in there, but I'm in the Dead Rabbit, which is, you know, was number 5 on World's 50 Best Bar list, you know? So I have to say though, that the liquor store sales have gone up. Like Foti is my #1 account now in Massachusetts. We did so many cases last month because people are ordering from all over the country.
And Effie, it's also a lot of repeat customers.
Did so many Greek Americans, but there's a group that just kind of got started in Boston called KLEOS, which is a group of just kind of young female entrepreneurs in Boston, Greek women. And we've done a couple of Zooms lately, and everyone is so motivating and inspirational. There's some serious dynamos in the group, like Christina Tsipuras Miller, who started Moroccan Magic, that's in like Walmart and Target. And a couple of the girls are on the call tonight. Mimi Sotiropoulos, I think Evie Panagopoulos. I think I'm going to butcher everybody's names. But they rallied and brought a lot of women to the call tonight and have been all super supportive in kind of spreading the love for KLEOS. So, you know, don't ever discount the kind of organic word of mouth. Like, it definitely can create the next brand. And that's something that's really saved the company during this really difficult period. So I'm so appreciative of the Greek community. I really am.
That's awesome.
As much as I make fun of the Greek community a lot myself.
Well, we make fun of each other every day, so it's all good.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Effie. We appreciate
Very informative.
you. We appreciate everybody who's on the call. We appreciate everybody watching, listening. Stay tuned for our next webinar. This webinar will also be on YouTube. It'll be on our app. We're going to convert it into a podcast. We're going to have links to Effie's products. All information will be everywhere, so just stay tuned. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening. Thanks again, Effie, and more power to you. We know you're going to do great things.
Thank you, Effie. Good night, everybody. Cheers.
Kalinita.
Kalinita. Bye-bye.